House of Cards Season 4 is finally here. I binged it and I'm gonna review it. First, I'm gonna talk about the first 3 seasons just to give some context, then I'll take a look at the show spoiler free, and then talk about the spoilers incrementally, so if you're not caught up to a certain episode, you can stop watching the video. I think this is a great solution for everyone. Let's jump right in with the first 3 seasons of House of Cards. The first season was an original take on political drama, opting for an opera route with beautiful production values and 2 perfectly cast leads. It was a breath of fresh air for television. I give it an 8 out of 10. In season 2, the stakes were higher, and new characters Jackie Sharp and Seth Grayson, along with the expansion of characters Remy and Raymond Tusk, along with the culmination of Frank's grand plan and a fast-paced diplomatic story, gave the show renewed energy. 8.5 out of 10. Season 3. What a disappointing slogfest. With many of the original interesting characters gone, we now have to suffer a 3-episode subplot of Gavin the hacker and Lisa the who cares about Lisa. Doug's rehab plot got dragged on too long, Petrov was better on Sherlock, and then Claire was blonde, and then she wasn't, and then she was blonde again. It was just boring. 7.5 out of 10. There was a lot of hope that Season 4 would be a return to form for the show, harkening back closer to Seasons 1 and 2 than the much maligned Season 3, and I'm here today to tell you, Season 4 is definitely better than Season 3. Let's jump right into the spoiler-free review. Season 4 was without a doubt a return to form for the political drama. With Claire's separation from Frank already set up, the show jumped right into the Underwood Civil War and did not disappoint. Claire's individual manipulations redeem her weak character arc from last season. The plot also moves forward much quicker than at any point in the show's history, and several lingering plot threads that were annoyingly unmentioned last season return here in full force. The show takes a hard left turn in the first third of the season that left me genuinely shocked. There is a sense that the show's writers are making up for the boringness of the 3rd season, as at times this season feels like 2 full seasons worth of plot put together. While I can't think of anything Spacey does this year that tops previous years, the rest of the cast steps up big time, starting with Robin Wright as Claire, who carries the show for episodes at a time. Reed Barney as Donald Blythe and Jane Atkinson as Kathy Durant get surprising amount of times in the spotlight and deliver with their performances. Neve Campbell is the major addition this year, but her character isn't particularly deep or interesting. Stylistically, the show brings back cuts to news reports from CNN and Fox and other news stations that were great in seasons 1 and 2, but surprisingly missing last year. Additionally, the show has invented a new way of bringing the audience into Frank's thought process that's unlike anything the show has attempted before. That said, the show still makes several questionable jumps in logic, some major characters from seasons 2 and 3 get sidelined big time, and if you don't like how the conclusion to season 3 was open-ended, prepare for a similar lack of closure here. With that said, the breakneck speed of the plot means every episode, save for a couple in the second half of the season, are full of twists and the surprises that make House of Cards addicting in the first place. I give Season 4 an 8.5 out of 10. Alright, that is your spoiler-free look at the show. If you have not watched this season yet, this is where you want to jump off. I'm going to talk about the spoilers in depth in grouping the episodes. I'll talk about episodes 1 through 3, then 4 through 6, and so on. So let's jump right in with the first couple episodes of Season 4. Season 4 jumped right back into the Underwood self-sabotaging each other in glorious fashion. The President's State of the Union speech was ludicrous, and while I did not care much for the return to Gaffney, Frank and Claire continuing to plot against each other was a great chess match. Lucas Goodwin is back, and he's a better erotic novelist than Tom Yates is a novelist. Something something gas crisis out of nowhere, something something Remy running away, something something Seth is a traitor for no reason other than to give the character something to do. It's good to see Doug back doing what he does best, laying down the Underwood law with no remorse. That said, Claire wants to be Frank's running mate? That reaches Donald Trump levels of ridiculousness. I was surprised the show was willing to sideline Frank for a good solid 2 hours, though it did give Claire her chance to prove herself. Goodbye Goodwin, goodbye Meacham, you both died how you lived, scraping for relevance. Firstly, I love the David Lynchian hallucination sequences Frank experienced in the hospital. It's so different from the show's established style, but I'm not going to complain about more Zoe and Russo. More Petrov! Thankfully, Petrov is used sparingly and much better this year than last, where he's less antagonistic and actually seems to want to help world issues. Blythe as acting president gives Claire a new power player to manipulate, and we get to see her operate truly independent of Frank. Also notably, we get the return of the long disappeared Tom Hammerschmidt. Also, more Raymond Tusk, I guess. I mean, it's nice to see the character back, but it seems like fan service. He doesn't do much. This arc ends with the Underwoods joining forces once again, realizing that they are stronger together than apart, and Frank admitting that the two are equal in partners, like Tom Yates theorized last season. Enter Governor Conway, played by Joel Kinnaman. Conway loves the media spotlight and proves a formidable, if overconfident, and very young foil to Frank, who's now dealing with questionable health. Frank's new liver humanizes the character, and while he appears to be a bit softer at first, a showdown with Catherine Durant shows that not even a liver transplant will keep Frank from achieving his ultimate goals. Now, I love that it's Hammerschmidt who's putting together the story to take the Underwoods down. I mean, you consider 2 of his former reporters are dead, another, Janine, is basically in hiding. The political manipulations to make Claire Frank's running mate are a return to the plotting of seasons 1 and 2 that was sorely missing last year, although this arc did feel a bit stretched out. Tom Yates is also back. Now, I didn't really like Tom in season 3 mainly because of his disgustingly pretentious writing. His only role last year was to accelerate Claire's quest for independence and to give the show some sex scenes. This year, though, he plays a far more important role, first as Claire's speechwriter, and there as Claire's boy toy. I'm ambivalent on this development, but I'm willing to roll with it because of the subtlety applied from the writers and directors. Now, I should probably talk about Claire's mother, whose assisted suicide at a convenient time for Claire brings a melancholy end to a story I wish I was more invested in. And finally, Doug's just getting creepier and more unhinged by the day. Alright, where to start? I'm surprised that the endgame for this season was an ISIS knockoff rather than the general election. Like I said earlier, this season ends open-ended, kicking the election can down the road while introducing Hammerschmidt's scathing story alleging the Underwoods of everything short of murder. The article doesn't have consequences yet, so I assume the show is saving those repercussions for next year, so let's talk about what did happen. The Underwoods officially have an open marriage, and Tom moves into the White House. The scene of Frank, Claire, and Tom having morning coffee I found to be as cringeworthy as the Meacham threesome. Inviting Conway to help out with the ICO operation is a smart move from Frank that gives the audience more insight into what Conway really stands for. While there is nothing personally wrong with the terrorism arc, it just feels out of place. I, along with many fans, were looking for some sort of closure with this year's storyline after the end of Season 3 had none. But once again, we were left wanting more. I think it's a very bad choice for the show to push the election into next season because by the time we watch the outcome of this fictional election, the real election will have passed. The fictional outcome, I believe, will just be less interesting. Ending the season with Frank and Claire deciding to expose the entire nation to true terror is a bold conclusion, showing the Underwoods at their most diabolical, and while it does not provide closure to this year, it ends the season much better than the conclusion of Season 3. Oh, and one more thing, Freddy giving Frank his overdue reality check stands as the best scene of the season and one of the best scenes the show has ever produced. In conclusion, with an accelerated plot, the return of almost every major character who was missing in Season 3, an examination of each Underwood individually, both apart and together, bold new stylistic choices and more, House of Cards' 4th season was a return to form. It wasn't perfect, as the running mate convention arc dragged on, Remy and Jackie were nowhere to be found, Seth's early betrayal came out of nowhere and ended up amounting to very little, and the final episode seemed like a strange choice of story given that the election should be right around the corner. Once again, the season ended without resolution, and Claire being Frank's running mate is perhaps one of the most unrealistic ideas the show has ever produced. Governor Conway's use of technology to influence the election is a smart, technical, topical plot point, but he's not engaging as Mendoza was. All that said, the show was still very good this year, much better than last year. Nothing this year was nearly as bad as the Gavin and Lisa subplot, and I would say this does stand with Season 2 as some of the best content House of Cards has ever produced. 8.5 out of 10 for House of Cards Season 4. All that said, the show was still very good this year, much better than last year. Nothing this year was nearly as bad as the Gavin and Lisa subplot, and I would say this does stand with Season 2 as some of the best content House of Cards has ever produced. 8.5 out of 10 for House of Cards Season 4. Anyways, that's all I've got. I hope you enjoyed this review of the 4th season. If you did, if this review seems successful, I'll do something similar in 2 weeks for Daredevil's 2nd season. Please subscribe to my channel if you have not done so already. I just crossed 1,000 subscribers. I'll have a video in a couple days talking about that and what that means to me and the channel and more. Comment in the comments below. Sorry, that was weird. Let's have a conversation in the comments below, and stay tuned for more here on TV Junkie.